Racing League welcome you to the Super Late Model Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen as it makes its way to the state of North Carolina to Southern National Motorsports Park. For tonight's action, it's round 6 of Season 17 in series history as the championship continues to take shape with the tight bowl circuit at 0.4 miles here tonight. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Taylor Burris, along with our producer and Trevor Greenfield. And Taylor tonight provides plenty of challenges for competitors. A track with not too long straightaways, but very tight corners with a lot of degrees of banking that will very much so be challenging the competitors right from the launch.
Probably, Justin, one of the most hardest short tracks on the iRacing service. Southern National may seem like a simple short track here on the service, but it challenges some of the best names in the business, as we will see here tonight for the Bootleg Racing League Super Late Model Series. And we're going to see who is really going to be able to come out on top. I've been watching practice for a while, but this track here, of course, located in beautiful North Carolina, is going to be able to provide some interesting racing, some side-by-side action. But this 0.4 of a mile circuit in Kenly, North Carolina, will be one for the ages here for this season in round 6, after we just left another historic short track of North Wilkesboro last weekend.
Keep in mind the track temperature is very high tonight, 92 degrees Fahrenheit. The air temperature 87, fairly high humidity at 62% on iRacing Day, May 15th, 2022, under the lights here at Southern National, at a date where it's been a day race in the past. Keep in mind the championship standings also continue to be in constant flux, with many of the drivers having various positionings when it comes to their campaign commitments. Kenny Kibbe leads the point standings currently with 191 points scored, followed by Justin Morton. He's 13 points back. He's one of the favorites, with Austin Belke coming off a victory earlier tonight in the modified race, 2 points behind him in third overall in the standings. Michael Goodman, after his bad luck early on in the season, is making a comeback. He's now jumped ahead of Matthew Thunhorst, who's on a part-time schedule this season. They round out the top 5. And those championship standings, likely going to see a little bit of swapping, to say the very least, amongst the 27 starters throughout the year.
One thing to keep in mind, of course, is Matthew Thunhorst, who has been on a dominant run for the past 2 weeks in the Bootleg Racing League Super Late Model Series, picking up the win at Five Flags, and then also picking up a win also at North Wilkesboro last weekend. So he's looking to see if he can go 3 in a row this season, put the hat trick in play here tonight, but currently showing he has what it takes to do that, as he's currently second in the times charts in this warm-up segment.
Speaking of warm-ups, that's currently down to its final 90 seconds or so. Justin Morton currently setting the pace in the session for preparation tonight. 14.007, couple 100s back is Matthew Thunhorst. Kenny Kibbe, Stephen Spees also in the 14 flats. John High, who's here many times the Virtual Grip Network broadcast booth, rounds out the top 5 in one of his few starts of the season. He's really turned up the wick, we'll say, for this practice session. Of note, though, a few drivers are taking a step aside here tonight, as mentioned, with the part-time runs for a few competitors. Austin Belke, amongst those we talked about success earlier, is in the bottom half of the session. For comparison, here's a look at High meanwhile. And now over to the Jeff Gordon car.
Yeah, Austin Belke pretty much not having the pace he needs. He's about 2/10 off of the time that is set by Justin Morton. He sits in 12th position right now as he's struggling in this warm-up segment. We're going to have to see if that's going to be any improvement as we get into the race. But, of course, we also have to refer back. He will be starting inside the top 8 after his great run last week at North Wilkesboro, given the fact of that. So he will be at least inside the top 8 when we get ready to start the racing action here tonight in a few short seconds.
Keep in mind, this racetrack opened in 1993 and has had a couple names. Southern National Speedway before, Southern National Raceway Park before settling on Southern National Motorsports Park in recent years. It's hosted many different types of series, from the NASCAR Selfie Series, the ASA Tour, the Car Super Late Model Tour, that has seen many drivers like Quinn Huff, Christopher Bell, Bubba Pollard, and many race here within its confines. The question's going to be for some, how will tonight fare out for the Super Late Model Series? Will it be a grand old time for them? Will it be a wild night? We're moments away from finding out. I'd like to take the time to remind you that this series is presented by Gargamel's Kitchen, a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the BRL. Visit their office at 2045 South Valentia Street. Call it 720-707-6178. Drivers making their way to the starting grid for tonight. which means it's just about time to give a call to how these drivers will line up at Southern National tonight. With the inversion in place, Steven Spies, who really picked up the pace in practice inside the top 5 of the session, is in his prime position to try and pounce from the pole position alongside Kenny Kibbe. Justin Morton starts third tonight with Austin Belke in fourth. Rounding out the top 5 is Matthew Thunhorse. Then it's Michael Lemieux, who will start in 6th, Joe Segala in 7th, Joseph Snyder in 8th. Kurt Smith, Bruce Pearson round out the top 10 tonight.
Chris Wolfson will be starting in 11th, followed by Donnie Moore in 12th. Todd Liston will be in 13th with Ruben Altice in 14th, and John Hine will round out your 15-car grid here tonight.
That's a look top to bottom at the running order and the various paint schemes. Several newer looks for some of the competitors, including Chris Wolfson with the Ghost look tonight. Also a bit of a different look for Ruben Altice in his orange and black machinery. But with that, your keys to victory tonight, Taylor, for this one.
It's always going to be the biggest keys to victory here. Make sure you take care of your tires, take care of your equipment here in these early stages. We know there is no changing of tires here at all in this series, so they have to make sure that they have enough tires to make it to the end of tonight's race. Secondly, be mindful of your surroundings. These corners are very tight, and you do not want to be hugging up against somebody on the inside or outside lane when racing around this 0.4 of a mile circuit. And also, finally, know your braking points. This track can be very finicky when it comes to knowing your braking points and getting into these corner entries and exit because of the very high banks that this track has to offer.
With that, the drivers are all set to go. Green flag is out. We're underway for round 6 of the Super Late Model Series season for the BRL. He's with the clean launch up at the front, but it's Justin Morton looking to fight for second. He clears Kenny Kibbe. Kibbe tries to fight all behind them. Meanwhile, there's lots of bumping. Snyder made contact with the bump from the inside from Chris Wolfson. 2-3 wide, coming into turn 1 behind the top 5.
How about Matthew Thunhorse, your defending race winners this season so far? He's up into 3rd place now as he's trying to hunt down Justin Morton, who's now looking to the inside as they go side by side for the race lead.
To the inside, it's Justin Morton looking to rip the lead away already from Spies. Morton's been very comfortable in these super late models this season. Leaves that time at the stripe. Just needs to close it out. It is a bottom groove racetrack, keep in mind. In terms of the preferred line in the long run in particular, Morton takes advantage. He clears for the race lead as Thunhorse nearly spins it for second.
Thunhorse got a little bit loose right there off of corner exit of turn number 4. That's going to allow Kenny Kibbe to get on here as he works his way to the back bumper. You're right on board with Matthew Thunhorse as he works through the middle of turns 3 and 4. And then here's a great shot through the grill of the nose of Kenny Kibbe as he tries to find his opening to get around Matthew Thunhorse.
Always love those types of viewpoints you can have with some of the cars on the service. Meanwhile, the bottom group's starting to really pick up in one of the main art forms. You mentioned the importance of your lines, your brake marks, your throttle points. It takes a lot of precise exercise and practice because it's so easy to miss those said marks with you only being on the throttle for about 5 seconds of straightaway.
You certainly are, and that's very critical. I mean, like you said, you're on this straightaway for about 5 seconds, if not less, around this circuit here as you try to work the way through the corners and try to hug that inside lane and try to be able to get the grip you need. Some of the drivers are going to try to hug right up against that segment of the circuit on the middle of the corners where it's a little bit darker compared to that light section of asphalt towards the bottom of the racetrack by those cones that you see as we see Steven Spies now under heavy pressure from Matthew Thunhorse, who will look to the inside. That'll, of course, push Steven up to the top of the racetrack, not in the preferred lane or groove, as he'll dive it back to the inside of turn 3. That's going to wash up Steven a little bit, but he's got some momentum to keep on battling.
And that's one of the examples right there, too, with the throttle points. Sent it in early to try and defend. It's paying the price time when it comes to Spies. Really tight up there. He's lost one spot. Up for grabs for another. Here comes Kenny Kibbe to battle for third. Nearly to the door as Spies misses the bottom again. Up a lane and a half. That clears things forward for Kibbe.
Kibbe doing a great job this season, has always been consistent with his runs here this season in the BRL Super Late Model Series, and going to put heavy pressure now on the back bumper of Matthew Thunhorse to see if he can make up some ground. These are two of the strongest competitors, along with Morton and Belke, who have been the star-studded drivers this season so far.
Belke, for reference, up to 5th position. He lost a spot originally from his starting spot. Here's a look on board from the Sonoma, California-based driver, Justin Morton, Your race leader already half a second up. Forge Racing back machine.
Yeah, that Forge Racing Total Downforce Racing machine of Justin Morton has been a long-time competitor in this series, and a mix of other great series as well across the iRacing service. Knows the thing true about getting around here with these super late models as he's looking to try to get him a win this season. And as he continues on through the middle of turns 1 and 2 right now, Thunhorse starting to close in just a little bit, ran a little bit faster last time by about 0.02 of a second compared to Justin Morton as they come across the line. So they're starting to fall off a little bit off their pace, about 2 seconds or 0.2 off last time by for Justin Morton compared to his best lap early on.
That's to be expected when it comes to this type of racetrack and this type of tire model. Keep in mind with the super late models, run goes on here tonight. Keep in mind the back half of the field is already seen up to 0.4 of fall off. That's how quick some of the drivers in terms of comfortability have gotten towards the front point. That separation is the inversion spot for the moment. Kurt Smith already up by nearly 2 seconds over Chris Wolfson. Here's a look from Kenny Kibbe, trying to reel in the top two. He nearly dropped outside of about a second back of the leader, but he's been able to close back up a little bit towards Matthew Thunhorst in particular to keep it close. They have ditched Steven Spies, though, in this pack.
He certainly has. Steven Spies has fallen off tremendously now and almost kind of put a little bit of a cork on the back rest of the field right now. Belke having a tough time trying to find his way around Steven in order to move up into the top 4. Still, though, keeping on. But how about Michael Lemieux, who's right there as well in that 6th spot? He needs a good run this season and get some great needed points.
Lemieux holding on to 6th position for reference on the racetrack and staying with Austin Belke. Steven Spies has fallen right back into the clutches of Belke and company, with Kibbe up by nearly 2 seconds from him. Here's a look at the battle now for 4th. Austin Belke right now is running within the same 10th or so as the race leaders on average, but right now has not been able to fully close on up. In fact, the past couple laps has started to slow off compared to the leaders, but he is much quicker right now than Spies by a 0.5 a lap.
He certainly has been, as you see Belke right there. Now we'll go back up to our top 3 of Kibbe, Thunhorst, and Morton. Morton trying to put the pressure on and continue to try to pull away to see if Thunhorst and Kibbe can utilize their tires a lot quicker as we're about to cross over the quarter distance of tonight's race.
Leaning green so far, and that's a happy thing for some. Here's a look from Kibbe as the distance continues to build, nearly 2 full seconds up, as mentioned. But I will say this, remember, Justin Morton has had some troubles in the past when it comes to tire wear, and you have to think about this for all the top 3 competitors. If they aren't considering that tire wear balance, but also trying to build up a bit of a gap, enough to at least grow it a little bit if not maintain, that can lead to some troubles. And Morton, remember, at some of these tracks, has had it where he's burned the rear tires off by the final quarter of a race.
Trouble off of turn number 4. We got one car around. That's the 26 of Donnie Moore who looped it there. Our first caution as we cross over the quarter distance as he nearly hits Justin Morton.
Morton really had to lock it down to the brakes there. Just got it slowed down to avoid possible contact. But Donnie Moore did get some, it looks like. Yes, indeed. That's a little bit of a tap from the back from Pearson.
Bruce Pearson then looped it around coming out of turn number 2 as well. So a tough break and a close call right there. There you see Bruce Pearson in the 22 machine looping it in the middle of turns 1 and 2. And then here comes Donnie Moore. And will there be tempers flaring? No, not just yet. So we'll see what will happen. But already the chrome horn put to use towards the back half of the field tonight.
The funny thing is, because of the spin with Pearson, Donnie Moore got the position from Pearson. See on board, this is how they enter the corner, keep in mind. You'll see this from the grill. Tap from above, a secondary tap, and bye-bye. What happened in the next corner? Well, looked a little quick. Wonder if there's help, though. John Hine was behind him there.
Interesting. If John Hine got into the back bumper of him, it'd be a little bit of karma possibly happening right there for Bruce Pearson. It's like, there's one bump. And let's see what happens as they go into turns 1 and 2. Yep, just a little bit of a tap. The old soul saying, karma's a you-know-what, and it certainly happened for Bruce Pearson.
That's a bit of a saying, I guess, that really rings to light as Hine, Moore, Pearson all get contact of the incident. It looks like Moore and Pearson have to take a wave to stay on the lead lap. Other than that, though, get things settled back down with Morton, Thunhorse, Kibbe, Spees, Belke, Lemieux, Segala, and Smith, your top 8. And that's going to make things interesting for the inversion spots because Kurt Smith seemed to say this almost every time when he's in this spot. One of his best runs to start off a race, and it's proceeded to slide back. Before that caution, he had about a second and a half up on the next group.
He certainly did. Now, one thing to keep in mind, of course, though, for Matthew Thunhorse, who might think, is he going to go and try and pass the race leader here tonight? Well, not necessarily. He's going to be someone who bides and takes his time to get around his leader or his target that he's going to try to go after here and not really put the pressure. He's going to try to save his tires, take care of his equipment, and wait till we see Justin Morton burn out those rear tires if that were to happen for Morton here later on. But Thunhorse, not in any rush right now. Going to stay up in that second position. Try and hold it here at this restart as we're about to go back green flag racing.
Green flag is out. Here's the look from Thunhorse as he tries to nail it from the top side. Hard send up top. Kibbe tries to get underneath. Kibbe is there. Kibbe to the quarter panel for turn 3.
Kenny Kibbe right there, going to keep the Matthew Thunhorse up to the top side of the racetrack as Thunhorse will finally clear him out of turn number 4, back down to the bottom of the racetrack, and then here they go. The top 3 now start to form the train as Steven Spees now tries to see if he can keep up pace this time along with Austin Belke, as we have no really battles going on except towards the back half of the field, but we're a little bit of a train going on here tonight at Southern National.
That's some of the trends, but John High's trying to break some of them. This is Todd Liston he's fighting with. Liston has been having some troubles in the back grouping. Slid back a little bit from the start. He has picked up 2 spots on from his stunning grid position, but had been in the heart of the main pack before it started to break apart. I know not able to take advantage as they try and settle things down in this pack, all while Thunhorse still rides the bumper of Morton just up the track as they continue to run that preferred groove.
Great drive right here as they work their way back into turns 3 and 4 as you watch on this battle between the 17 as Chris Wolfson and Todd Liston as they continue on. And there you see Austin Belke now leading into that top 5, leading that second group of cars out of turn number 2. As we see Belke trying to see if he can find his way around Steven, but not going to work as Michael Lemieux is right there also with Austin Belke as they head back into turn 1.
Good job to keep up with that pace this run so far. Keep in mind, right now off the launch, about 14 Fords being turned. The quickest lap of the race so far tonight was turned by Morton of 14.203 at the start. Here's a look at Belke in particular. He's continued to settle on in behind Steven Spees, all while the leaders continue to choo-choo train with 3/10 the gap between Morton and Thunhorse. The Super Pals currently up front, approaching halfway.
As we watch on here, Morton, Thunhorse, and Kibbe as he works his way through here, the middle of turns 3 and 4. Not really a whole lot going on here for the Sonoma, California native as he's trying to maintain the gap. See if he can maybe pull a little bit of a gap over Matthew Thunhorse and Kenny Kibbe right now. I haven't been able to do that yet. Most he's been able to stretch it out is about 3 to 4 tenths of a second before we had that last caution. He's now brought it back to about 3/10 over Thunhorse as they work back into turn 1 and 2. But Spees and Belke now also starting to break away from Michael Lemieux as well as they'll work down the back heading into turns 3 and 4 and closing in on Bruce Pearson to put him a 1 lap down.
Hamels continues on towards the front. Will Thunhorse be able to get a chance to force a mistake from Morton is the big thing. And that's a major thought you have to take here, Taylor. Can you pressurize the mistake, especially at a track where if you push too hard off one corner even, you could potentially knock the wall down or burn up the tires?
Tough thing right there about making sure you have the right setup and the right driving line for that, because you do not want to burn up that tire, but you also don't want to hit that outside wall because the car will get a little bit too tight if you try to send it in there a little too deep, as well as get back onto the throttle a little too soon. So drivers are going to have to try to finesse their cars a little bit and just bide their time. We have a pass right now for 4th position as Belke gets to the inside of Steven Spees.
Yes, indeed, that's behind the main pack. In fact, Belke is clear, already nearly 3 seconds back. Belke looking to try and find a way to close on up. Spees continues to struggle. He does have damage as well, though, as a result of, take a guess, wall contact, getting tight off the corner.
He did not take a lesson right there and didn't heed the warnings for the keys to victory here, and he's not going to be able to keep racing like that here, as he will now possibly come under pressure from Michael Lemieux and move him back outside the top 5 here. But Belke now starting to stretch a little bit of that gap now over the rest of the field as we watch the replay what happened to Steven as he goes wide. Just a little clip of the wall as we see here. Here comes, of course, Belke to the inside. As they come out of turn number 4, he makes a beautiful pass. That's what we call a textbook pass in short track racing.
Nice and clean, but right now, tire saving in effect, it appears, in part with the start of the second pack currently. There has been some shuffling in the back of this group, mind you. Todd Liston and company trading positions back and forth. Give a shout out to Joe Segala, who's been able to hold on to the 7th position. He's currently trying to hold on to what would be a spot around the outside front row inversion spot currently. Kurt Smith is currently in the inversion pole at the moment. One of his best runs of the season at the midway point of this race, just past it.
We certainly have crossed over them at midway point here tonight, and it's still Morton, Thunhorse, Kibbe, your top 3, as they are working their way out. As we see Kurt Smith in the 6th machine, he is currently that provisional pole sitter for the next round of the BRL Super Late Model Series in that 8th position. So, Justin, I do got to ask for your opinion on this matter. You know, when it comes to racing here at this track, or any of the BRL races, with the amazing opportunity to be in that 8th spot, if you're not competitive enough to where you feel like you go for the race win, do you just want to stay that 8th spot to give you a better chance for the next round and where you get to start on the pole?
It's an interesting question, Taylor, and we've seen this come into play a few times where sometimes the driver may have their struggles, say, and be able to recover to the top 8. They start on the pole, puts them in a great spot to recover points the next round. Then, in the other hand, you have drivers who want to fight for the championship, get as many points as possible. You don't want to end up having that conversation. It's a long thought process that depends on case to case. Speaking of, Kurt Smith has said, you know what, I want 7th now. Joe Segala's now on the inversion pole spot. Joe Segala started on the inversion pole position location a majority of the time this season. Meanwhile, in the other pack, lots of chaos as more bumping with Todd Liston continues.
Todd Liston trying to figure out what in the world is going on here, as there you see a couple of more competitors, the 17 of Chris Wolfson, along with Joseph Snyder in that 39 machine. Those 3 are going at it. I'll throw in Ruben Altice in the mix. This is the battle for P11 now as they work back into turns 3 and 4. Altice holds on to that number 11 spot in the 11 machine, as he will work his way to try to catch up to a top 10 finish of John Hayne, who's just up the road.
John Hayne, indeed. Donnie Moore, by the way, you seen a moment ago, is out of the race currently. 14 cars still running on the racetrack. John, a +5. He's your biggest mover of the race so far. 2 spots away from an inversion spot. He'll need a caution, though, likely. He is more than 4 seconds back of Joe Segala and needs to find a way around Todd Liston, who has not been afraid to use some of the bumpers when it comes to defending and passing several times. Both of them getting really tight on some of these entries and exits.
It certainly is, John, right there. As you see in that number 21 machine, trying to see if he can close the gap to Joe Segala to get inside that top 8 as he's trying to work his way through and having a tough time right now as we see him working his way through. There's John in that number 21 machine trying to close the gap up. He certainly sits in that P number 10. Todd Liston up the road. He's now in 9th as they come out of turn 4. Gets a great run off there, but not close enough to make any passes for position at this time as they work back out of turn 2.
Already approaching the quarter way to go in this one. Behind them, some of the drivers who were trying to go in the bumping and the banging. Joseph Snyder, well, he's trying to get 12th back as well. Chris Wolfson, a different look for the principal tonight. We've seen him usually in more of a red color in a majority of his starts in the past in BRL competition, especially in the Grand National Series. This time, he's taking on a sponsor, it appears.
It's got the Coast Energy Drink paint scheme on with that beautiful pink livery. The Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania native driver trying to see if he can get a good run here for his new sponsor. Trying to see if he can at least break into the top 10 before tonight's racing action's over with, as we're approaching 3/4 of the distance.
Quickly burning through this one as Wolfson tries to get the pace on down. Here's the tough thing. The next group behind them just so happens to be Justin Morton, Matthew Thunhorst, and Kenny Kibbe. The leaders are reaching lap traffic for the first time today, and this could get tricky with a battle for position going bumper to bumper right in front of them.
It certainly is, and this is going to be very interesting. Can Morton be smart enough to try and make these passes to put these cars a lap down while maintaining the race lead here and keeping, of course, Thunhorse and Kibby behind? We're going to find out as you ride on board with Morton as he's closing in to the back bumper of Snyder and Wolfson.
Here's a look from Thunhorse. This is from the gyro cam inside his Super Elite model. Currently, he still is within 3/10 or so to the back bumper. Continues to try and wheel that machine just a little bit loose, you've seen with the overcorrection. But right now, they have the focus now on the traffic. It's within a car length and a half. Dirty air might be in effect as well for the lead pack. It is a major talking point with these cars, and both of the lead cars in front are not moving out of the way from the bottom.
This is going to be big implications for Justin Morton. Can he be able to find the opening he needs? He'll look to the inside of Joseph Snyder to try to put him a lap down. Thunhorse is going to try to follow through along with Kenny Kibby, but look at this. This gap has closed up here as they now go up to the next driver, which will be Chris Wolfson and Ruben Altice, who are also battling for position. As we see Chris Wolfson be smart, give the way for the race leaders to work their way through.
Wolfson still gaining a little bit net timing, but here's the tough thing for his position. Joseph Snyder has found the bottom, trying to take advantage as well in this. Wolfson scrapes the wall. Top three scoot away as they clear on by the first lap traffic pack. The next one, John Hine, Todd Liston, Ruben Altice, 9th through 11th.
Let's boot, scoot, and boogie on the way down back into turns 1 and 2 here as they work their way out of turn 2 and try to make up ground. And we see now Morton has stretched it back out to 3/10 of a second now, but as he was now working his way out of turn number 4, he's really setting the pace. Currently one of only 4 drivers, making 5 drivers last time by to stay in the 14-second bracket. Everyone else is outside the top, out of the 15-second bracket for the most part here. Now the top 4, including Kurt Smith and John Hine, who are the only drivers to stay inside the 14-second bracket last time by.
They even dropped most of them to the 15-second bracket last time, 14/8 as you talked about for the leaders. So it's going to be difficult, I think, for some of these drivers to try and settle things down. Thunhorse still bouncing off the walls, trying to find a way to close up. Despite all that traffic, he hasn't been able to try and take advantage and get close enough for a lunge yet. Coming to 21 laps to go this time. Kenny Kibby, though, is trying a bit of lunging.
He's going to try to see if he can poke and prod his way, find the weak spot on Matthew Thunhorse's armor to get by and move up to P number 2. It's going to be an interesting for Kenny Kibby if he can do that, and he may have that help he needs when they are now approaching the back bumper of Ruben Altice, Todd Liston, and John Hine, who are now up ahead, and now we see Altice gives way to our race leader, so that's not going to be utilizing a smart move or pick for them as they have it back into turns 3 and 4.
Altice lets them on go and costs himself half a straightaway on the rest of the pack he was with. Still, the leader's able to quickly get on by as a result. Then it's Liston, John Hine. Joe Segala, though, remember he's in the inversion spot pole currently. He is bleeding time now, too. In fact, Hine and Liston are closing slowly in within now about a second on the stopwatch in terms of the intervals. The lap times have seen a little quicker for Segala, surprisingly, but the interval either way has dropped significantly.
It certainly has. As we watch on here, they're going to get by Todd Liston to put him 1 lap down as they work down the back straightaway heading into turns 3 and 4 and now set their sights on John Hine. And as they do that, Morton really has fallen off the pace from when we started, which is expected, of course. He's now running, say, about 7/10 of a second off the pace here tonight as they work their way through the middle of turns 3 and 4, coming to 15 laps to go.
He's led all but 3 of the laps so far. Check that, 2 so far. Now with 14 to go this time by. Right now within range to lap 2 more cars at their current pace. Depending on how things fare out, they may get up to Kurt Smith's group. That's about it right now. Kurt Smith having his best run of the season still in 7th. Warden's right there on John Hine. This is all while the battle for the inversion spot is about to heat up its way as well. How does Hine play this? How does Morton play this? Hine plays it cautiously and courteously. Morton takes it very simply, moves on by, and builds a bit of a buffer spot with Thunhorse.
A little bit of breathing room there for him as they come across the line here, closing in on less than 10 laps to go here. as they come through the middle of turns 1 and 2 off the straightaway. Now he's stretching back out to 0.3 of a second, but here comes Thunhorse. Kibby now closing the gap a little bit as they come out of turn 4. Thunhorse gets a little loose. That might open the door for Kenny Kibby to stick his nose to the inside.
Kibby wants to go. Thunhorse really starting to fall off indeed. Joe Sagawa, the next one up for grabs. Hine has found the bottom, keep in mind with the rest of the leaders. Hine nearly watching the contact in front. Morton having to dart hard underneath Sagawa. Sagawa right up to the outside wall, just avoids contact with it. Thunhorse goes for the dive. Sagawa going really sharply on these corner exits. Here comes Kibby, 3 wide with the lap traffic. Kibby to the inside. Thunhorse squeezes him off. Thunhorse tries to squeeze him. Kenny shuffled off his quarter panel.
Kenny Kibby nearly turned Thunhorse around last time by as they come out for turn number 4. Thunhorse really struggling with that race car now as it's starting to show off, and he's having to push some pressure. Meanwhile, Mr. Justin Morton, he's grinning from ear to ear as he stretches out to the biggest lead of the night, 0.7 of a second. He's just got to pace himself here as we have trouble for Joe Sagala.
Into the inside wall he goes. He was battling for 8th position. He got loose coming off turn 2 and slammed the inside wall. Fight for 2nd, still ongoing. Thunhorse scrapes the wall again. He doesn't want to give this up. Tries to pinch Kibby down. Can't keep it up. 6 to go. But can Kibby close up 9/10 in 6 laps?
That's going to be a tall order for Kenny Kibby now for him as he works his way back in the middle of turns 3 and 4. A lot of work to do as we get the big high five. 5 to go.
Gap 0.8 of a second. Kibby, last time by, gained another 10th on him. Needing some help right now for him to have a true shot. He sends it hard again to the inside. 4 laps to go this time. Kibby down to 0.7. He's gaining a 10th per lap and a half a 10th or so per corner. Will there be a chance for him to get there if there's a mistake?
It's going to be tough indeed as they come out of turn number 4, but he is closing the gap quickly. Ran a 10th faster last time by. Let's see what he does this time. He ran about 100th faster that time by than Justin Morton. He's closing, but he's got to pick up more.
Not close enough with 2 laps to go. Already within that margin of the point of no return. Next flag ends the race. Morton looking to come away with the victory. Kenny Kibby looking to rip it away. Thunhorse looking to pick up the pieces if things intensify, but the white flag waits up at the stand. Final lap from Southern National.
How about Justin Morton being calm, cool, and collective and patient, capitalizing on others' mistake to pull away down the back straightaway for the final time?
Justin Morton has been outright dominant once more. This time around, he picks up the W at Southern National. He wins in the Super Late Model Series for the BRL.
And as the fireworks go off here at Southern National, the fireworks of celebration for Justin Morton will begin here as he takes home the win and gets some much valuable points in the championship.
Extremely critical to close things up with Kibby in their fight for the title. It's not a major gain, but it is those small margins that could be pivotal, especially if there's a mistake later on that could come into play later. Kibby, Thunhorse, Belke, Spies, unofficial top 5. But it's Morton who comes away with the victory to close out the month of April. Much deserved for the man who ended up leading 98 of 100 laps. 1 caution.
Talk about an exciting barn burner of a race for Justin Morton, who's going to celebrate it. Drifted around Southern National now. You can go ahead and use up those tires. He doesn't need them anymore. Go out there and have yourself a victory celebration.
As the celebration continues, let's take the chance to look at how things fare out in terms of those results in just a moment. You're watching the BRL and its Super Late Model Series. Virtual Grip Network here from the virtual Southern National Motorsports Park.
the lead as quick as possible.
Welcome back to the Virtual Grip Network for tonight's coverage of the Super Late Model Series for the Bootleg Racing League presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. Here's a look at your unofficial race results. As Justin Morton picked up the victory by 6/10 over Kenny Kibbe. Matthew Thunhorst came away with third spot. He held on the second majority of the night. Austin Belke finishes in fourth, with Steven Spies, after his struggles after starting from the pole, still holding on for the fifth position finish. Then, in the sixth position, that went the direction of Michael Lemieux. Kurt Smith, the last driver of the lead lap. John Hine picks up the inversion pole, eventually for next week, pending attendance. Todd Liston finished in ninth. Ruben Altzis, your top 10.
In the 11th position will be Joe Sagala, followed by, of course, Joseph Snyder in 12th position. Chris Wolfson will be in 13th, and Bruce Pearson 14th. The one car that did not finish, Johnny Moore.
Let's look top to bottom at the running order for tonight's action. 14 cars take the checkered, 15 starters. But it's Justin Morton who is the one who picks up the W tonight in the BRL Super Late Model Series tonight. Justin, very dominant run, 98 of 100 laps led. How are you feeling after picking up another victory on the campaign?
I'm feeling good about finally getting a win in this car. I feel like I've been struggling at the end of these races to put something together, and it finally clicked.
Especially knowing the experience with you with this car in particular, that's why I think that phrase, finally coming through, is so prevalent too. What did you have to do to try and prepare yourself or try and find that extra bit you needed to be able to perform well and come away with the checkered?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just learning the new car. I know some of these guys, they ran in the Friday series when these ran. They kind of got to grips with the car more recently than me. They just had it fresh on their mind at the start of the season. I was kind of a little behind there. And then having Matt also racing here for these wins, and Kenny also, they're really great drivers. So it takes, I would think, a little bit more than skill to win one of these races. You got to have a little luck on your side, and I had that at the start of the race.
Yeah, you quickly got up to the race lead and held on the rest of the way as the Pied Piper. But now, the championship fight is going to be pretty intriguing. We know we've talked about it a lot, and a lot of the drivers have said, going to maybe miss a race or two. Might not make every single start. You've reeled in a little bit more on that gap between you and Kenny Kibbe with this victory tonight. In turn, opinions now coming into the final stage of the season with just 6 to go on the calendar, with the Bull Ring in Las Vegas next.
Yeah, looking forward to Bull Ring. I feel like that's one of the tracks I'm good at. I really like driving it. I'll just have to keep chipping away at Kenny's lead. Had a pretty rough start to the season, so that put me behind the 8 ball there. Just kind of been trying to dig myself out of that spot.
Check myself Memorial Day, of course, in that mix, so technically there's 5 of the 6 weeks with race dates. Anyone you want to thank? Or you coming away with the victory tonight on this date?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, Forge, spraying our paint this week. Brian, he did a great job with it. Rethread Co. and Major's Garage for sponsoring us. Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring the series. Lowell for running this awesome league and great group of guys. Thank you guys for doing the broadcasting.
Once again, that's Justin Morton, your winner tonight. Once again, at Southern National Motorsports Park here on iRacing. Congratulations to you once again, Justin.
Thank you.
Next in the line is Kenny Kibbe, and he had a hard fight for second coming towards the checker. Taylor, he's with you.
Caught up with Kenny Kibbe. Kenny, you had on a dominating run inside the top 3 all night long, but could not really close the gap on Justin, but had a heck of a fight with Matt Thunhorst. Talk to us about through that battle that you had with Matt during those closing stages.
Yeah, I mean, we were just kind of riding around there, and it was frustrating because the way these cars are set up and just the way Southern National is, you know, the top line is non-existent, and with us 3 drivers, we were so even on pace. Somebody was going to have to make a mistake in order for any passes to happen there, and I did notice the last, 20, 30 laps, I felt like out of the 3 of us, I felt like I was the fastest at that point, and we were kind of all over Matt there, but again, it was going to take something extra to get by him, and We caught Joe there, the lap car, and Matt also, before he caught Joe, he made a mistake. He got loose off of turn 2, I think it was, and had a bad angle into the next corner. So I tried my best to do the over under and kind of sent it in there 3 wide. And I thought we were kind of gonna wreck because Matt squeezed me really, really hard, and I think maybe he was just trying to give Joe room, which was understandable. And then Matt probably could have cleared me back, but I don't know if either he made a mistake and couldn't hold the bottom, or maybe he felt like he did me wrong and squeezed me too hard and was decided to play nice. I'm not sure, but regardless, that's how we were able to get by him, and then just didn't have enough time to catch up to Justin. But even though if we could have caught him again, it was going to have to take a mistake or something by him to take the win.
Well, we get ready, of course, to head to the Bull Ring at Las Vegas. Your thoughts about competing at that circuit in next Saturday night?
Yeah, it's a pretty fun track. I mean, it's I like that it's a different shape on either end of the track. It can be tricky at times. You know, you got to really hit your marks there. But yeah, we've had some success there, and if we can make it there next week, I'll look forward to it.
Before we let you go, Kenny, anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
Just everybody at Bootleg Racing League for coming together every week. We had a really clean super late model race tonight, only with 2 cautions or whatever. So thanks to them. Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring the series. You guys at VGN for doing a great job with the broadcasts. And it's my mom's birthday tomorrow, so this runs for her.
Of course, I have to definitely give a big shout out to her. That's Kenny Kibbe coming home in 2nd place, as Justin Prince has caught up with 3rd place finisher Matthew Thunhorse.
Yes, indeed. And Matt, this time, 3rd place for you. A bit of a battle towards the very end, trying to hold off Kenny Kibbe. Talk us through that, where it was a lot of traffic at the time that you were dealing with, and then 3 wide down the front stretch.
Yeah, Justin, it was just, I don't know, I didn't feel good all race with this car. It kind of felt like I had on a dress shoe on one foot and a tennis shoe on the other, and neither were the right size for me. So I didn't have my bearings all night, and I went down there underneath Joe, and the car just didn't turn the slightest, and I had to park it, and it gave Kenny the chance to get a 3 wide. And I don't know, it's just one of those things. It was racing, and I get why Kenny went for it. It's just a little frustrating maybe with some of the lap traffic, but I mean, it's just one of those things that we just kept kind of catching him in the wrong spot. And and it was weird too all race, because like me, Justin, and Kenny would all just kind of rubber band back and forth where we'd stretch out, and then we come back together, and you think you'd have something, and it's like, oh, this works, and all of a sudden, oh no, this doesn't work 3 laps later. So I just think Kenny was faster than me pretty much the whole race, and there at the end he had an opportunity to take it, and he did. And it's just, I don't know, it's like I said last week, I don't think I have this place figured out, and I still don't.
Yeah, I'm intrigued though with the feel of the handle. What were some of the things you were trying to give context to the attempts you were trying to get around the track and to maintain or try and at least find the back way around Justin Morton there?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, some of it was try to break in a little harder or go a little bit deeper and wait longer to hit the brakes and then get it to rotate that way. And sometimes it would, and it's really weird here because it's like for the first 2/3 of the corner, the car just kind of was tight, especially once we kind of got the new scrubbed off them. And then all of a sudden you come out of 2 and 4 and 4, especially, I'm sure you saw how much we were wiggling around, but from my problem was I tried to straighten the wheel up and all of a sudden the car wouldn't turn, and it's like, oh, now I'm going to turn everything now. And the rear end would want to come out, and it's like, what are you doing, car? So, it's just, trying to hook the bottom the whole way around. Sometimes that would work, but that was treacherous because the apron's right there, and that just pushes you tight. And just trying different lines, different markers for different, throttle and brake. And like I said, it was weird because you get a portion where it's like, oh, this works. And all of a sudden I kind of sleek right back up to Justin and be like, oh, this doesn't work. And I'd watch Justin go back away, and it's like, you tease.
Yeah, it's been an interesting race, to say the least, or was, should say. But the next round takes us over this time to the Bull Ring at Las Vegas. A bit more flatter compared to Southern National, of course, but how do you feel about your confidence there?
Yeah, I mean, just from the one time I raced it last season in the ARCA cars, I always like that track. I know turn 3 always feels like a bit of the action corner just with how weird it is and how much you can kind of have braking change there. So hopefully it won't be carnage or anything, but I definitely feel like at least in these cars, the flatter tracks kind of come more into my, wheelhouse in terms of where I'm strong at. So, I don't want to say I hate Southern National, but I'm definitely glad to see we're past it now after the way this race was, because it's just, like I said, it was the two different shoes and neither felt right. So I was just looking like a goofball or a deer on ice the whole race.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, Justin, BRL for putting this on every Saturday night. And doing this, and all the guys for coming out and racing, and you all at Virtual Grip for broadcasting us, and Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring us. And it's pretty cool to see Mr. Morton get his first win. And it's kind of awkward talking about him and you, seeing as you both share the first names, but congrats to him as well for getting his first win, and just thanks for everybody involved for watching. So
once again, thank you very much for the time, Matt.
Thanks, Justin.
That's Matthew Thunhorst coming out with the top three. I'd like to thank him, Kenny Kibbe, Justin Morning for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage. Your final thoughts tonight, Taylor, after what was the Pied Piper for the pack throughout the evening, it seemed, and was able to just dictate the pace.
He certainly was, and he is definitely able to dictate that pace. But of course, we're getting ready to go to another track that's a little bit more different, where it's going to be a little bit more beating and banging. This track here is a little bit more high speeds that carry a lot of momentum, and some of these drivers were able to do that and have to capitalize on other mistakes. This next track, of course, at the Bull Ring, you're going to have to go out there and make some trouble in order to make some passes here, because it's going to be so interesting to see how these drivers will be able to go in there and battle for position at the Bull Ring at Las Vegas next Saturday. Now, drivers are looking ahead as well to see, who else is going to be in contention for this championship. Of course, we saw one driver, Lowe, who was not here tonight and was not able to get any points for the season. Kenny Kibbe, of course, still continuing on with his trend and looking to see if he can collect the championship.
There's a lot to consider when it comes to the potential wrinkles, to say the very least, for the rest of the way. But we want to thank you once more for tuning in for tonight's action here at iRacing's virtual Southern National Motorsports Park. We'd also like to take the time to thank the presenting sponsor, title sponsor of said series, Gargamel's Kitchen, a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor, Bootleg Racing League, with their office at 2045 South Valencia Street. Give them a call at 720-707-6178. As mentioned, the next time out for the Super Late Model Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen, it's over at the Bull Ring in Las Vegas. That race, once again, will be taking place 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, May the 7th. Who will be able to come out on top here in Sim City? Find out next weekend. But before then, on Tuesday, May the 3rd, it will be the PGRL Premier Series, who will be making a trip to Darlington as they make their way to one of the most difficult circuits for next-gen cars and their machinery. That takes place 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time, again, this upcoming Tuesday, May the 3rd. But until then, until next time, I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action. For co-announcer tonight and Taylor Burst, for our producer and Justin Prince, saying so long, enjoy the rest of your evening. This has been a production of the Virtual Rep Network. Good night.